You are willing to die, you coward, but not live.
Sometimes preliminary research. I guess the question is there a role for crypto? And as most academics, I will say maybe. But I think one thing that is true is that this is coming and there's nothing we can do about it. And so it's useful just to think about what's coming down the gangplank.
This is Christine Parler. She is from the University of Berkeley, the University of California, and others. And she is specializing in economics and finance. That's what she teaches. And I find her answer kind of interesting. She says that maybe there'll be a role for crypto assets, but it's definitely coming and it's coming down the gangplank. In all reality, what is she going to say? She was invited by the central banking community for this conference about banking. She can't say that they're all going to be out of a job pretty soon. What she has to say is what they want to hear.
Global public debt is very high. In 2024, we expect it will end with it being at $100 trillion. $100 trillion. That is a very large number. And it's not just going to stay at that. We're projecting it will continue to grow. So it is the case that the world has a problem of high debt and low growth, and that requires immediate attention. Countries can do fiscal adjustments and fiscal consolidation in a growth-friendly manner where they prioritize public investment, so maintain public investment to have growth, but at the same time make sure that they're spending more efficiently.
This is one of the head economists at the IMF, and she states that debt is at $100 trillion. Once you understand that this debt is never going to get paid off, the easier economics will be. This is all just a mirage, all just paper floating on top of paper. And when she says that the $100 trillion worth of debt has to be dealt with, the way they're going to deal with this is by turning on the printer to make $100 trillion feel like $1 trillion and then eventually 1,000,000. It's going to keep weakening currencies. And what I find particularly interesting is she talked about ways to kind of deal with this debt load. And she describes what Trump and Elon Musk are up to with DOGE and trying to make the government more efficient.
I mean, first, we should recognize that these are technologies that give us hope that we can raise productivity in the world and therefore increase growth, both of which are critically important. To make sure, though, that everybody is benefiting from it, countries should firstly invest in public digital infrastructure.
When the railroad was invented, there was this huge financial bubble around the entire railroad movement. And what we're witnessing is not just one bubble. It's not just one technology. See, crypto assets can revolutionize finance, can revolutionize payments and everything that we do with financial applications, plus more. But we're also venturing into artificial intelligence, 3D printing, nanotechnology, quantum technology, cloud computing. It goes on and on and on and on. So what happens when you have all these different meaningful technologies all happening at the same time? A tremendous amount of wealth is going to be generated from these technologies and passed on to the people. We are witnessing a period of history that will be unprecedented in the history books. We're entering a renaissance of technologies, and these advancements aren't going to be like what we saw with the railroad that takes hundreds of years for it to all pan out. We are going to move at a very rapid pace, and we're going to advance very quickly.
And also just making sure that you have the right level of spending and tax policies so that it is important to finance public investment, but it's also important to make sure that it's at the right level so that you do not impede innovation and growth, which is critical too.
You do not impede innovation for growth. I mean, how insane is it that Trump won the election based on the idea that they're just going to allow government to get out of the way of the private sector, allow crypto to flourish? And there's actually regulators and politicians that lost the election based on they wanted to drive a technology into the ground. I mean, Gary Gensler had a crusade against a technology. Elizabeth Warren, she had a crusade against, she still has a crusade against this technology. Now, why is that?
That this is coming and there's nothing we can do about it. And so it's useful just to think about what's coming down the gangplank.
Well, it's obvious that the banks are shaping politicians' views on the crypto industry because they see the threat. But it's not like we're going to have this decentralized utopia with no banks, everybody's their own bank. What's more likely going to happen is it's coming in layers. You're going to see a migration towards a new system that happens with banks. The banks and crypto and fintech all come together and build new things together. One of the things that will be coming in the short term is stablecoin legislation.
And I'm glad you asked that too. And just to put in perspective, Elon and I are completely aligned in terms of cutting waste and increasing accountability and transparency for the American people. I believe that this DOGE program in my adult life is one of the most important audits of government or changes to government structure we have seen. That when I was in my 20s, we had the Grace Report, and there's some great suggestions that came out of that, never implemented. Under Clinton and Gore, I think it was to government efficiency or reduce government, nothing happened. So President Trump came in, there's a big agenda, and I think that there are gigantic cost savings for the American people here. And I think it's unfortunate the way the media wants to lampoon what is going on. These are highly trained professionals. This is not some roving band going around doing things. This is methodical, and it is going to yield big savings.
As a libertarian, I am all for auditing the Fed, auditing the government, ridding these institutions and bureaucracies of waste. Ron Paul working with Elon Musk sounds something that came out of a fantasy novel, but this is what is happening. And there are rumors circulating that Fort Knox doesn't actually have enough gold, and the United States is buying gold on the down low and having it flown in. And this is another dynamic that's being added into the gold market, and that's why gold is about to break $3,000. Silver is also looking extremely bullish. What would it do to confidence if the public realized that the U.S. government has been lying to them?
Hey everybody, it's Josh Fair, Scottsdale Mint again. And what happens when the audit shows that there is no gold there? And while that's quite the possibility, I don't think Trump likes to fail at pretty much anything, and either does Elon. And I'm going with firsthand experience here, firsthand knowledge. They have been flying gold into the United States out of Europe and mainly London. I know this for a fact. On almost every flight starting before Christmas. These flights, typically a passenger flight, they'll spread the gold out, roughly 4 tons of gold. I'll let you guys do the math, roughly 32,000 ounces per pallet. They'll spread that out across the cargo. If the plane is full, as most of it was leading up to Christmas because of holiday travel, they could only get 2 tons. So if almost every single flight is that much gold coming in. And I know this firsthand from all the armed carriers. Guys, I work with these companies. I know them. In fact, one of them is going to be leasing space for me in my new facility in Wyoming and handling gold coming in from both Europe for clients coming in and out. So I know this firsthand. So this amount of gold has been coming here. A lot of us, including myself, started noticing the exchange for physical premium that the banks were allowing, given a premium to bring the gold to the United States.
Ron Paul has been talking about auditing the Fed since before I was even born, but now Ron Paul's teamed together with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They're going to audit the Fed, audit big government, and take all the waste and give the taxpayers back a refund. Well, this almost seems too good to be true. It almost seems like this is a Hollywood movie. I mean, just think of how absurd this is. These are almost celebrities and not even politicians. So what happens if Fort Knox does not have the amount of gold that they told the public? Well, this is why Cynthia Lummis is telling Elon Musk that this is why there needs to be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. What a coincidence. You see, Bitcoin can be accounted for on the blockchain, so we would know exactly how much the government owns at all time. But to me, this just seems very scripted, very orchestrated, but maybe it's just me. You let me know in the comments below.
$55 billion. So far. Over 1,000 contracts have been canceled. And I think that the number is only going to go up, Ainsley.
Yeah, and he's even showing an interest in the idea of guaranteeing a $5,000 check to every American. It would be called the DOGE dividend.
There used to be a ton of public fear about the concept of UBI, or Universal Basic Income. But once stable coins became the replacement for CBDC, you don't hear this very often. But what is UBI? What does it do? What purpose does it serve? Well, it greases the palms of the masses.
Access to change the system. Have they at any point this year had the ability to make changes?
Absolutely not. This is no different than you would have at a private company. And by the way, the ability to change the system sits over at the Federal Reserve. So it doesn't even lie in this building. So they could make suggestions on how to change the system, but we don't even run the system.
And if they ask for, if they request the ability to change the system, would you grant that?
No, again, they have no ability to change the system. I have no ability to grant that change. That they can make suggestions, then it would go to the Federal Reserve, and just like any large ERP system, there would be tests, there would be this, there would be that, and then the Fed will determine whether these changes are robust or not.
Scott Bessent was interviewed and asked about DOGE and its potential impact on privacy. Scott Bessent's response is priceless. He says, the U.S. Treasury doesn't even control the payment system. It's none other than the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve controls the payment system. What a coincidence. Here's the other $1 million coincidence is Elon Musk was talking about putting the U.S. Treasury payments on a blockchain so everybody can view where money is being spent and how it's being spent. As Scott Bessent's description of the U.S. Treasury and the payment system sounds uncannily similar to a blockchain. We don't run the system. We can't grant access to the system.
Elon and I are completely aligned. And
expectation is the root of all heartache. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this, please consider joining my Patreon or my Ghost channel, dmjr.ghost.io, to watch all of these videos ad-free, have exclusive access to a weekly chat, Twitter chat, research, and much more. So please be sure to check it out at patreon.com/fame21more or dmjr.ghost.io.